Hold here. Okay. Do this about 10 times every day. This is good, very good for people suffering from the heart. Now, then we do something called Kapalbhati. You lock your tummy, but then they bring it out like this. Don't breathe in. Try and put it inside and outside. And just expel your air here. All right. Now, we do something as the third one is bumblebee. You hum like a bumblebee. Now, close these two ears like that. Breathe in and then produce the sound of a bee. Now, breathe in deeply. Again. Breathe in. Again. Again. Again, breathe in. This exercise is very good for people suffering from sinus, catarrh, mucus, you see, and for the lungs as well. Now we do the last breathing exercise. You breathe in through the mouth, you expel the air with the pursed lips, you expel it through the nose, through the mouth. Breathe in through the nose, you see. So now, we just do like that. Raise your hands, and as you raise your hands, you breathe in. You bring it down, and you expel your air from the mouth. High. Relax, you see. Again. Try and extend your head as far as, because you are at the same time doing some exercise with this as well. Don't do like this. Look, as far as possible, and come down. This is good for relaxation, people suffering from anxiety, things like that, you see. Now, if you could kindly stand up, please. Now do that. And here. All right. Now tap your body. Here, your heart, and your legs. Come up. Good. Now, do that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, 1, you here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not like this, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very good. All right. Now, watch me. 1. Go that way. Again, this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Now, this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go as far as possible. 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the other hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? We do some sum as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now do the whole proper round. Look at the way I do. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Now let's do a little bit of balance exercise. Hold on to your chair. Take the support of your chair from here. All right. Now raise your heels. 1, 2. This is good for balance. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now raise your toe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, if you can't do it, you take support of this. But if you can do it, it's good. You do this tiptoe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't want to tire you out, but 1 or 2, 3 cardiovascular exercise. You just run on the spot. 1. Now, 1, 2, 3, and look. Go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Now, only one hand. 2, 3, 4, 5. Just straight, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you can do this one, the next one, do it. If you can't, don't do it. Look how I do it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look. 9, 10. All right. Now you do between the legs now. 1, I can't see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Relax. Do the last one. It's a bit difficult, but if you can do it, do it. Do that way. Go down. This way, on the right. Go down, 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 and then come up. All right? All right? Go down. This is a very good exercise. Just go, raise your sort of both hands quite high. Then go down, exactly down. Good. The last one. Good. Now I forgot the neck exercise. Just look straight, relax, slowly turn your head on the right. Okay? Come back. Then on the left. Come back. Now come down. Go up. Down. Go up. Now this way. That way. This way. That way. Now the way the Sunnis do Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How do they do it? 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Ahsant. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to our gathering. May I request you all to say Surah Fatiha for all the mahrumin. Al-Fatiha. Musaddiq Bhai has kindly agreed to step in. Master Ji Ali Askar is not well today, so he couldn't make it. So I got in touch with Mustaq and Musaddiq, and he was kind enough to agree to come and recite. Thank you, Musaddiq.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For our Master Ji, for our volunteer Shahid Ali Khaki, and all those people who are not well, let us remember them with one Surah Fatiha for their speedy recovery. Surah Qaf, number 50, ayah number 16 onwards. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد خلقنا الإنسان ونعلم ما توسوس به نفسه ونحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد إذ يتلقى المتلقيان عن اليمين وعن الشمال قعيد ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد وجاءت سكرة الموت بالحق ذلك ما كنت منه تحيد ونفخ في الصور ذلك يوم الوعيد صدق الله العلي العظيم. I've kept this to the 4 ayats because I want to do a bit of talk about our 9th Imam whose wafat we are commemorating today, and to link up this ayat to his great jihad. And so ayah number 16, which is the main focus of the talk, is, and certainly we created men. Allah said, we created. And we know that his mind suggests to him, and we are nearer to him than his life when. Those of you who are familiar to the way I do the Quran recitation is just not to give a literal translation, but either to do the maqasid, which is the theme of the surah, or to link it up with the hadith of our Ahlul Bayt, so that we are able to link up what Payghambar told us on the day of Ghadir, that I leave behind me two weighty things, inni tarikum fikum sakalain kitab Allah wa itrati Ahlul Bayt. So every ayah of the Quran, you could say that we can link it up to the Ahlul Bayt. And this very famous tradition we hear all the time, and we tell our youngsters, our children especially, that be good, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is closer to you than your own jugular vein. And in that context, I want to talk about Imam Jawad, Rasulullah, and the similarities that they have in their pursuit of doing tabligh. In Surah Mudassir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Holy Prophet that now is a time for you to go out and do tabligh openly. Before, it was for him to talk privately, that is to his own family members. As we know, the Dawah Zulashia was for the family members, 3 days of it, give ta'am, give food, and then do the dawah. And obviously, he was not welcomed. It took time until Allah tells Rasulullah in Surah Mudassir that now go out. But have sabr, have patience, because you are going to get a tremendous amount of people being against you, talking about you, against you, throwing all the feces at you, and it will not be an easy task. Nabi Nuh, for 950 years, did tabligh and was able to manage to get only 50 people converted. Rasulullah, in 23 years, changed the whole face of not Arabia, but it expanded to become one of the greatest empires ever in the history, the Islamic empire. So Allah says to Rasulullah, go, but have patience. It's not going to be easy. At that time, as you know, there were 4 or 5 individuals during the time of Rasulullah who were very, very anti-Muhammad. They saw their might, they saw their control, they saw their wealth, they saw everything which they held very dear, the power, being threatened. As you know, we had people like Abu Sufyan, Abu Lahab, we had Abu Jahl, we had Umayyad bin Khalaf, and one of the most dangerous person was Walid al-Mughira. These people would meet up and plot against Rasulullah to try and undermine him so much, right? The worst person, the most powerful person, the clever person was Walid. And he thought, and the Quran in this surah, Mudassir, Allah says that I curse this man and I curse him again. Right? Because he came up with a name which we hear so many times about Rasulullah to try and undermine him. And he would tell the people that this man, this Muhammad, is a magician. At that time, our traditions say that the magicians were known to be not only hated, but they were feared because they could break families. They were instrumental in divorcing of husband and wife. And obviously with Rasulullah's tabligh that women should be given respect, the daughters should not be buried, right? The word magician became something that was not very well appreciated. They were the breakers of the family. But obviously, who would go to Rasulullah? The women folks. They saw that Rasulullah was giving them izzat, respect, telling them, don't bury your own daughters, right? So now, this guy, this Walid, he said, I'm going to use that negative word about Rasulullah. So we can see very briefly here that the amount of difficulties Rasulullah had to go. He was called a madman by others. He was called this by this name. But the magician was given to him as a very negative one. Now if you fast forward and we look at the life of our ninth Imam, Al-Jawad alayhi salam, at a very tender age of about 9 years or 7 years or so, he became the Imam. And he died at the age of 25. 17 years of his life he spent as an Imam. But just as Rasulullah had difficulties in the beginning to establish his deen, Imam Al-Jawad had the same, if not even as equal difficulties. One is from his own family, two from the Khalif, three from the judges and the Qadis, four from his own wife, five with people doubting his imamate at such a young age. So you can see Imam had a very difficult time in that his father tells him, he writes to him, the eighth Imam, that when you leave your house in Medina, don't go out from the back door or any other door, but go out from the front door so that people can see you, recognize you, and you are able to talk to them. So much was the atrocity on the ninth Imam, so that he would not be able to establish his imamate, just like Rasulullah was getting difficulty to do his risala. Now, we all know the famous hadith that when the people came to Mamun al-Rashid and said, why have you given your daughter, Al-Fadl, to Imam at such a young age? So the Khalifa says, if you think that I've done something wrong, debate him. One thing I just want to say here, which I was very much surprised when I came across the research, that of all the Imams, we have got Imam Al-Jawad for 17 years. Do you know how many tradition hadith has been allocated to the Imam? Do you know how many? 250. Only 250 hadith tradition by our Imam written. While if you look at Rasulullah, thousands of hadiths. If you look at Imam Ali, just Najr Balagha in 2 volumes is this thick. Out of the 250 odd hadiths, Imam Al-Jawad had to debate no less than 9 times in the court of the Caliph. People will come, Chief Qadi will come, Yahya ibn Aksar will come and challenge him. Now, I want you to remember the ayah that I put in front of you, that Allah is as close to you as your own jugular vein. Please keep that in mind, because that is the theme. So these people will come, and Yahya, as you know, very famously asked him about the kafara to pay if you are in ihram and a person hunts and he kills an animal. He thought this is the toughest question, and a 9-year-old boy, a 10-year-old boy will not be able to answer. Very famous. Don't want to go into that. Obviously, Imam asked him questions upon questions, trying to get clarification, and Yahya ibn Aksam said, this is too much for me. Even I don't know that. Having gone through a lot of debates in the court, Yahya knows that he can't defeat Imam Al-Jawad on fiqh. So let me try another tactic. And he says to him, I'm going to ask about the Khilafah. Very famous, I'm sure Malim would know this hadith, these two hadiths which I'm going to say. Our friends, Ahl Sunnah wa Jamaat, have got it very much in their books, in their tradition. And it says that one day Rasulullah was sitting and Jibreel comes to him. Ya Rasulullah, salamun alaykum wa rahmatullah. Allah sends his blessings and salams on you. There is something that Allah wants you to do. Rasulullah says, yes. What can I do for you? He says, I want you to go. Now listen to this, and use our brains. Go to Abu Bakr and put to him and tell him that I, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, am very pleased with you, Abu Bakr. Very pleased. Your merits, how you conduct yourself. Allah Akbar, I'm pleased. Ask Abu Bakr, is Abu Bakr pleased with Allah? Okay, now look at this. Now he can't defeat him on fiqh. Now he's trying to bring what? The high standard of Changu, Mangu and Tangu, as I call them, the three, and bring the Ahlul Bayt Fadila down. At that time, what he was trying to say, that Allah is so pleased with Abu Bakr that even Imam Ali is not anywhere close to Abu Bakr. Very famous tradition. So now, our Imam, young Imam, at the age of maybe 10 or 12, as the tradition says, looks at Yahya and says, I'm not even going to go into the merits of Abu Bakr. No, I'm not going to go into that. But this tradition, this hadith you have told me, rejected. Complete rejection. The whole court, silent. Yahya ibn Aqsam is the chief judge, great. And this young boy of 10 or 12 years says, stupid tradition, not even acceptable. And he says, don't you know, in Surah Qaf, ayah 16, which he says that Allah is closer to you, to men, than his own jugular vein. Does Allah need to ask Abu Bakr whether Abu Bakr is pleased with me when Allah should know exactly what Abu Bakr is like? You see, look at the way our Imam is interpreting the Quran live in front of thousands of people. This is the greatness. And my time finished again. And the second tradition I want to finish this, because this is something that we need to appreciate our Imam at such a young age. Mazlum Imam. Again in a tradition, Rasulullah says that Abu Bakr and Umar, on earth, in the eyes of Allah, their position is that of Jibreel and Mikael are in Asman, in heaven. Really? Abu Bakr, Umar, on earth, their loftiness is that compared to Jibreel and Mikael. Imam turns around and says, I expected something more from you. Jibreel and Mikael, since day one, on the inception that Allah created them, have not disobeyed Allah even one single atom of a time. Well, Abu Bakr and Umar were polytheists. They were idol worships. How can you compare the two of them? Look at the status. And this brought the hatred between the chief Qadi, Ibn Dawood, with Yahya, and then they plotted against Imam. As we know, how it led to the martyrdom of Imam. So in conclusion, we see that these ayats of the Quran, this hadith of Rasulullah, inni tarikum fikum saqlain, kitab Allah, itati ahl bayt, how wonderful we can marry it up and look at the fadail of the Ahlul Bayt, be it somebody like a grand statue of the Prophet or Imam Ali, or to a young boy of age 9, 10 and 11. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Before I ask Sadiq Bhai to come on just called Riaz for 5 minutes. He just wants to talk to us about security issues. Only for 5 minutes. He promised me only 5 minutes. So we give him 5 minutes slot.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm only going to take 5 minutes because the subject I have is so important. You just need to go through your finances and your technology that we are all using every single day. Thankfully, I've made a list, so it will be exactly to point. The first thing is I've had texts from people in India looking and asking for money. They're sending me snapshots of a little enclosure for goats and sheep. And they're saying, this is where I'm living. One of them actually said to me, I've got 2 sisters who are living in this little shack. What that does to you when you see these images and you think somebody's suffering, I must help. I must help. And since then, my number has been passed around to approximately 30, 40 people. Every single once a week or once every 2 weeks, I'm getting another text from a number from 932, whatever it is in India. I have identified these people. They are from somewhere near Calcutta. I think the village is called Hardoi. And most of them name themselves Zaydis, or Sayyid, or this, or Maulana this, or Maulana that. I actually spoke to Dharamsi, Mosque Dharamsi in India, Jamnagar. So, and I spoke to him. The minute I mentioned a couple of these names, straight away, without thinking, his response is, Bada Chorche. Straight away. He didn't wait for me to explain more. I just told him 3 sentences, and he goes, Riaz Bhai, these people are thieves. End of. Right? So he knows his India, and we don't know enough. So please, if any of you ever have any approaches from anybody in India, run it through somebody who knows. If it's Pakistan, run it somebody who knows. Because WhatsApp, is, with all its good things, it has these things which are opportunities for thieves to actually get your hands on your money, because we are, alhamdulillah, much better off than they are. And they somehow think that they deserve the money from Shias, because these Shias in India and in England are very rich. And we are Sayyid, and we deserve their money. How we get it is not important. Okay, they get it through fraudulent means. To them, it's still kosher, it's still halal, because they are, at the end of the day, yeah, they're earning 10% of what we are. The assets they have isn't enough. Yes, there's extortion and things going on in India, but please be careful if you get any approaches from anybody asking for money, because nowadays it's so easy to transfer. And I did fall for the first one. I transferred straight away the money there, and he says, thank you very much. And a month later, he sent me some more images similar to that. And he goes, look, oh, we've come here now, and we still don't have a well. So can you give me £100 for digging a well? And obviously, these days, you go online and you look at the address, Google Maps. I found out that he was in the middle of the city. He wasn't out there in the desert. See? So please be careful. Anybody asks for any money from anywhere in India, Pakistan, whatever, please look at it with eyes that this could be a fraudulent thing. Yeah. Online services, the next one. Banks, apps for banks. I now have 3 apps for every single bank account that I have. I can just put my thumb on it and I'll know exactly how much balance I have. I do payments to 30 people every month. They send me the images and I go according to that. Point being, I used to do online banking. I've never had a problem since I've switched to apps. When I was doing online banking, once in a while, maybe once in 6 months, your card has been used for fraudulent. Did you make this purchase? I get a phone call to say, did you just spend £2,000? I said, no. That doesn't happen anymore. Because apps, and this is the message, apps are much more safer and secure than any other system, even if it is phone calls. And remember, we all know people try to phone you up and swindle you out of money. We know that because they have half your information online and then they say, okay, what is your date of birth? When was the last expense? These are ruses for them to get into your bank account. So please, if you have the option, if you want to speak to me or Mehdi Bhai or whoever else who uses apps all the time, it's only difficult for the first couple of weeks. Once you get used to it, bang, it is immediate transfers for everything. Oh, the last time I had a check, I said, how do I put that in? Because I don't go to banks anymore. Just everything is online. It's in the app. So they said to me, you can look on your app and there's a section there where you actually bank the check in the app. And that's a new thing to me. That was obviously 6 months ago or more. And all you do is take an image of the check and you put it into your app and the check actually gets credited to your account and you literally throw away the check. So the checks are not something that are welcome in banks anymore. They want you to go on the app, take a picture of it, you'll get the money into your account. Yeah? So that's how we have progressed. There was a time when I was running a business when I used to go out and use my card, and when I get home, the wife goes to me, oh, where did you spend this money? Because she was looking in online banking as well. And so she said, no, who did you spend this for? Was it for this customer or that customer? So she needs to keep all the records. So that's changed now. Every time I walk into Tesco, I tap my phone. I don't even use it. I don't pull the card out. Look, the cards are sitting in a corner in here, and they don't have to come out. You go in there, you tap your finger, and you pay. Straight away, I get a notification to say you've just spent £2.50 in Tesco. And that's a reassuring thing. It's amazing how much control you have on your daily expenditures. The last thing is about the energy bills and water meters. So we all know we've got to tighten our belts. I'll just tell you how you can fall foul of this. Where the new water meters were installed in my house maybe about 6 months ago, I've had notification to say that from the next 3 months later, we will be billed according to the usage. Right? We're paying £450 a year now, and from that projection, they said that next year you'll be charged £970 for the year instead of £450. The usage I was doing was for 9 people. There's only 2 in the house. So, and then I thought, I said, yeah, of course, I had my back garden done. And then I was watering it every single day, straight out from the tap. And that led to so much water wastage. I'm now ashamed. I've bought a water butt. I'm going to put it into where the rainwater disperses and use that for my garden. So please, let's think about outside the box now and try to save our energy. Of course, I can tell you a lot about insulation and saving energy, updating your boilers and things like that. There are grants available for people that are actually owning their own house. You can get a free boiler. Yeah, and everything, of course, is online. Just go online, search free boiler for over 60s, and you'll see where it is. Just click on there, they'll come and replace your boiler. Yeah? Inshallah, we are all aware of these things because there are such... every day I'm listening to cases where there are frauds, where the people come to me and say, look, I've got this big ticket or this big bill, what do I do about it? Please, let's stay alert. In this day and age, if you haven't read the online instructions and rules and regulations, you only have yourself to blame. Look at everything online. There are documents, even in the Hujjat website, there are conditions and there are rules and regulations and policy making things. Please read them. Take your time. Nobody's rushing you. But when it comes to parting your money for charity, just be careful. Don't rush anything. Ask as many people as you can. Look, I've got this person asking me, can I have some charity? He's in Pakistan, he's in Sindh or whatever. Please ask, because I've got cousins in Pakistan, Iqbal, that is doing all the charity that we send him. Inshallah, we're all careful and we get better as we go, as we age. Ahsan, Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Riaz. Thank you very much indeed. Now, please welcome Sadiq Bhai for he's our guest speaker today. Please.
With your permission, inshallah. Inshallah, before we begin, in honor of all of our shuhada, all of our ulama who are no longer with us, from those who passed away in Afghanistan in the earthquake last week or a couple of weeks ago now, for all of the marhumin that were here present months, years ago, and for all of the marhumin of our family members that are no longer with us, rahimallahu man qara'a surat al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المأسومين المذلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين وصلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا حجة الله يا ابن الحسن يا صاحب الأسر والزمان اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. My dearest elders, or should I say inspirers of the community, mentors of the community, pillars, foundations, pioneers, I don't know how many words we have to describe what you guys have done for us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. A massive thank you for having me, and I really hope that I don't waste too much of your time. No, my pleasure. My Gujarati consists of about 8 words, so we're not going to try that. My Urdu of about 3 words, so we're not going to try that. My French is a bit better, but I'm not sure how useful that is for a lot of you. So, inshallah, with your permission, we'll discuss a little bit in English today in the time that we have. Just a quick show of hands before we kick off. How many of you, I need to see those hands nice and high, and I know Ma'alim Murtaza was making sure you had your exercises ready, so I know you're now stretched to put your hand up if needed. A show of hands for those of you who have grandchildren or grandnephews or grandnieces at the moment. Yeah? Alhamdulillah. Okay, great. A great majority. I'm about to share a statistic with you that is deliberately provocative, that is deliberately going to shock you. It at least shocked me when I came across it. And once I share this statistic with you, and after you go, oh my God, so remember your reaction, I'll then share how I feel you as the elders can help solve this incredibly tricky challenge that we're currently facing today amongst the youth. We as a company use a recruitment agency that focuses specifically on graduates. So graduates being of the age of around 20 years old, let's say 2021. So this recruitment agency did a survey with 1,000 graduates. This is back in 2020, so like mid-COVID they released this. So I suspect this could have got worse since then, given how severe COVID was in terms of people's mentality. They did a survey based on diversity and inclusion. So from 1,000 people that apply through them to find jobs who are graduates, what percentage are brown, black, white? What percentage are disabled, not disabled, etc. And one of the pieces of data that they picked up was about religion. So, what percentage out of 1,000 graduates in the UK, i.e. perhaps your grandchildren, your grandnephews and nieces, or maybe sons and daughters, what percentage do you feel said that they were atheists? 10%? Who said 10%? 10? Okay. Any other guesses? 10%? Say again? 5% atheists, okay. 25%, okay, we're going up. Yes, we're going like inflation, just like... Any final guesses? We're going in this direction. 50% of respondents said they were atheists. So for every 2 people you meet, 1 is likely to be an atheist. Let me turn this on this head slightly, okay? For your grandson or granddaughter or niece or nephew, when they're at university and you think they're in a safe space, and then you're like, oh no, there's a lot of clubbing at university. Forget clubbing now, that's not the issue we're against. Islam's pillar, initial Assasa, asasa, the foundation of the foundation is not don't drink. Yes, that's there, but it's not don't drink. The first thing we're taught is tawheed. And atheism is the absolute contradiction of tawheed. Alcohol is still a worry, it's still a concern. Drugs is still a worry, it's still a concern. Mixing is still a worry, it's still a concern. But atheism is 1 in every 2, 50%. So I was like, wow, okay, this is slightly more. I wasn't expecting it to be as intense as that. And I was thinking with some friends, how do we go about trying to tackle this? Because you can go around saying beautiful ahadith from our Imam alayhi salam, but unfortunately, to the average person who's being convinced by atheist arguments, they've got Martin Luther King to look up to. They've got Mahatma Gandhi to look up to. They've got Imran Khan maybe to look up to. Imams don't mean anything to them if they don't have tawheed. There's a big gap. So we can hold our shahadat program. We can hold our wilada program. We can hold our Eid program. But tell me, is the attendance of the youth going up like inflation or down like our savings? Volleyball's going up though, don't worry. So we've got them somewhere. So we need to go and speak to them. But when we speak to them, we must ensure that we have a clear line of arguments that are completely rational, that don't require initially the use of the Quran, because we haven't proved that the Quran is useful at all to them if they're going towards an atheist mentality, that doesn't use the ahadith from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam because they haven't seen that they have this light, purely using their intellect. Please don't think I'm saying that the Quran and Ahlul Bayt is irrelevant. No, not at all. That is life and blood. But we have to start with rational intellectual proofs and then let them realize the beauty of the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt, and then they can, inshallah, be inspired again. So today, what I would like to do is using the works of Samahat Ayatollah Nasir Makaram al-Shirazi, may Allah lengthen the life of all of our ulama, especially Ayatollah Nasir, who's done phenomenal work and continues to do so with his tafsir that I know Sheikh Abbas Ja'far and his team are working very hard on trying to bring to us in English. But what I would like to do is share from one of his books called 50 Lectures on the Principles of Faith for the Youth. Note, in his introduction he says, this is designed for high school students. So it's perfect for them. Worryingly, I think us as adults actually benefit from these arguments more than the high school students. But anyway, 50 Lectures on the Principles of Faith for the Youth. He tries to give these very rational and intellectual arguments that you can then discuss with your grandson, with your granddaughter, with your daughter, with your son, with your niece, etc., to try and get them thinking again. So inshallah, if you want to learn some of these arguments, kindly offer salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. We'll start with 3 basic ones and then we'll see how we're doing for time. These are all premised around why is it that from Adam until Khatam, from the beginning of time till the end of time, you will always find a group of people, be they a minority or a majority depending on the demographic, that want to understand life. Not everyone does, actually, because they get so distracted by money, fame, wealth, Boris Johnson, so on and so forth. It's very good examples, right? So these kind of guys, maybe they're not so interested. But at some point in their life, and this is one of the other lectures in his book, they will eventually realize, like Fir'aun did, but then they have to make a decision as to whether they follow or not. But even Fir'aun at one point is like, actually I'm drowning, maybe I should believe in a God. But we'll put them to the side. Most people in life will have a moment, even when they have all the money in the world, that, what's the whole point behind this life? So the first thought, or the first question that maybe, or situation that we can put forward to our youngsters is to say, look, let me just ask you from a basic reflection question. If someone has just had a major car accident, and may Allah protect us all, and let's say that 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 50-year-old, whatever, they end up in hospital. They end up in a coma. Let's say they've been in the coma for 6 months. And you'd imagine, like if it was a film, the mother would be there, sat next to them on one side, the dad on the other, holding their hand, and with one hand tasbih, with the other, and doing dua. And suddenly, finally, this young man starts to open his eyes again. And he looks around. And among the first questions that they're going to ask is what? Where am I? What am I doing here? What's going on? What happened to me? Humans are naturally inquisitive. We want to know. Our souls are made to ask questions, to seek truth. They want to find out what's happening. But life has been going so fast that we've been saying, as grandparents perhaps, grandson, just focus on your GCSEs. Grandson, focus on your A-levels. What are you going to pick? Grandson, what are you going to do at university? Grandson, are you going to do GP or surgery? Grandson, are you getting a job nearby or are you going to go further? When was the last time we asked them, grandson, what are you doing here? When did you come about? What's your purpose here? And imagine if you asked that question to this 18, 19, 20-year-old, or even now, to be honest, 6, 7, 8-year-old. They're getting smarter, they're getting access to information earlier. Whether maybe they just look at you in awe, as a youngster does to their grandparent, and is like, I don't know, can you help me? Yes, they'll help them on their path to become a successful entrepreneur or a successful medic, but get them to think about their purpose, about what they're doing here, because we are naturally inquisitive. We want to know where we've come from, where we're going, why we're going in that direction, our recovery time, so on and so forth. And this can be a first step for this individual to begin to reflect on how they can find their purpose, which will only take them towards a skillful creator, and then their relationship with that creator, and so on and so on. So this is just one very simple question that you can ask. Think about the coma, think about the car accident. Say, what are you doing here? And open up that discussion with them and see where it takes them. The second example that Ayatollah Nasser gave, you can see there's no Quran there. There's lots of Quran to back this up, so on and so forth. We're just planting the seed of discussion. And in the later lectures that Ayatollah Nasser gives, he then starts to bring in verses from the Quran and our hadith to really, really solidify it. The second example that Ayatollah Nasser gives, that is a very basic concept, and I really like this one. He says that every human, not only are they inquisitive, wanting to know what their purpose is, so on, they also have a sense of gratitude about them. Now, how can you prove this? We've all been invited to an iftar evening or a milad or whatever, and unfortunately in some cases even a majlis where we get the wrong mindset. But anyway, let's call it a milad, where the food was phenomenal. You get invited, and you get there, and instead of just one plate of biryani, I was in Pakistan just recently, and for 4 nights consecutively, I had an increasingly better biryani. It was incredible. You know, like Taste of Lahore, Sindhi biryani, I don't know if you guys have had it. It just got better by the night, and I was like, this is incredible. Anyway, Hyderabadi biryani, all this kind of stuff, wow, just, you can, if that was healthy, I'd be the healthiest guy in the world. Just keep having it, right? So let's say you get invited, an individual gets invited to this banquet, to this massive milad. And you say to your friend who's here from back home, back from Tanzania or whatever, you know what, Muhammad, come with me. I'm sure this guy won't mind having you. And of course you ask, he's like, yeah, bring him, no problem, fine. So Muhammad comes with you. Muhammad's not sure what to expect, and he gets treated to this massive banquet. Now, it's coming to the end of the evening, 10 p.m., everyone's finished, the majlis is finished, whatever. No rational human being is just going to leave without going to their host to say, thank you. You don't need to bring a gift necessarily, but just out of common courtesy, whether you are of whatever ethnicity, religion, demographic, rich or poor, it doesn't matter. You would want to go to your host if they've given you a cup of water or if they've given you a 10-course meal. You just want to go say thank you. But to do that, you need to go and find the host. How many of our grandchildren have stopped, turned around and realized, wow, look at the banquet that's been put on for me in my life. For 9 months, I was being nurtured by something that I didn't even know that gave me these limbs that work. And unfortunately, but maybe as a grandparent, you're able to say, hey, grandson, you know that hand that's moving so smoothly for you? Once upon a time, it worked so well for me, and now I struggle to hold it still. So who's the host that's looking after your hand at the moment? What about that health? What about that wealth? What about that family? What about that education that we've constantly spoken about? Have you gone and found the host to say thank you? But there's an even more subtle point here. Let's say I was hosting that banquet. Muhammad comes with his friend and whatever, and he finally comes to me, finds the host in myself. He's like, Sadiq, thank you so much. I'm like, no problem. You're welcome. And he says, I've brought you a gift. I'm like, wow, what an amazing person, what an amazing guest that I have in my midst, that he's actually brought me a gift. What did he bring me? Now, I'm a big Watford football fan, for those of you who know. And Sadiq uncle, are you a Luton fan, I hate to say? Either Watford, uncle, and then Sadiq uncle? Anti-football, ya Allah. Okay, so we will stay away from that one. Change the example. Yeah. Luton, just up the M1, is a big rival of Watford. Huge rival. It's like Manchester United versus Manchester City. Big rivals. So let's say this guest comes to me as the host. I've brought you a gift, Sadiq. What is it? It's a Luton Town football shirt. I'll be like, you're having a laugh, mate. There's something about when you want to thank your host that you need to understand your host. Ma'rifat Allah enables you to understand from Allah, what is it that I can do to thank you? And Allah's lutf means, His divine mercy means, I've given you a way to thank me that doesn't benefit me, but will only benefit yourself. How can we get our kids to think about this? To make them realize that this atheist argument that eventually is nature is intelligent. I thought you said nature wasn't living. Very easy ways to come back at them. But for them to realize these basic concepts, yeah, I need to be inquisitive. I would be if I was in a coma. How did I get into this life? Now I'm in this life and I see the banquet of health and safety and wealth and family and community and everything that's been given. Where is the host? How can I understand the host? And how can I thank my host? We get them thinking. The third example, and what's really sad is that this third example relates to war. And when I first gave this talk, I was alluding to what was happening in Afghanistan when the US withdrew from Afghanistan. And now we have another example, which is Ukraine and Russia, which just shows that humanity is not heading in any more advanced direction than we were in the Dark Ages. But in any case, this third example is what we call the direction example. So the first one, the coma. The second one, the banquet. The third one, the direction. So suppose you're on a trip and, well, let's use the example. You're in Ukraine, you're with some friends before the Ukraine crisis kicked off, and we all know suddenly this thing just ignited from nowhere, right? Russia decided at some point enough's enough for whatever their reason and rationale was, right or wrong, and they attacked Ukraine. And what did we see? So many people flocking away from the country. There was a young sister from the community, I think World Federation reported that they had to try and help her get out because she was studying medicine or dentistry or something there, right, as well. So imagine her context. She's there, everything's fine. Suddenly, turmoil. And you look to the north, smoke. East, smoke. West, smoke. South, smoke. Where'd you go? You know you need to go somewhere. So you just get in a car and you go. You go, you go. And what are you doing? You're listening to news. Sky News in one ear, Press TV in the other, just to get the balanced argument, see what's happening. Don't go north, don't go east, don't go west. You see some military and you're like, hey, tell me, where do I go? Which direction do I go in? Do I go north, south? Another bomb goes off. Okay, well, I need to go in the other direction. You as an individual, in this state of panic, no rational individual just drives aimlessly. Rational individuals seek to find information, to find a direction to go in. Life is going 100 miles per hour. When was the last time we said to this youngster, whoa, 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 hold on. Who have you asked for directions from on where you go in this life? Well, I asked my university admissions person. Okay, so they directed you on education, very good. Who else have you asked? I asked my GP. Okay, very good, make sure your health is in good check, you know the direction. Who else have you asked? Oh, I asked my banker because he told me about my mortgage options. Okay, great. What about your spiritual direction? Who have you asked? And then you listen very carefully to who they've asked. Because we know we have a challenge in our community at the moment where there are many different directions being suggested to not just our youngsters, all of us, of many different directions in our faith. And I'm not just talking about atheism, I'm not just talking about Islam, I'm not just talking about Shi'ism, I'm talking about even within the subtlety of Shi'ism, different directions that we can go in. So we must be aware. We need to be well informed. the same impetus, the same effort, the same focus that we give to our grandchild on make sure you seek guidance from said uncle who already has that job and you can get advice from him, go and get some sort of advice on a spiritual angle to make sure you can find that banquet that you're attending, the host of it, and you can thank them and clarify your direction. But are we asking these questions? And are we then surprised that on the Wednesday evening, when it's Imam Al-Jawad's Shahada, that Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, that they're not here, that they're nowhere to be seen? That you ask them, who's Imam Al-Jawad? 10th, 11th, 4th Imam? Is he a prophet? We shouldn't be surprised, because we're no longer facing are you an Imami Muslim or a non-Imami Muslim? No, that's God. We're facing a 1 in every 2 is up against an atheist argument. And I tell you, they're putting a lot of funding into the atheist arguments. Don't you worry about that. So we've got to bring them back to the level that they're at. The Quran teaches us to discuss with them in a way that is better, on their level, on their understanding, with love and with mercy. Not with harshness. Not Imam Al-Jawad's Shahada this evening, where were you? No, that's not going to get you anywhere. Go with love, go with mercy, go with inquisitiveness. And go with these very basic arguments that perhaps they'll respond to. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. The beautiful thing that Ayatul Nasr then does is that he slowly starts to put in these ayahs of Quran that will make them go, actually this speaks to me. So this point that we've just mentioned, that you want to have advice given to you by experts in different domains and different facets of your life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Az-Zumar verse 17, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَبَشِّرْ عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلِ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَ. That those who listen to the word and then follow the best of it. Give good news to my servants, those who listen to the word, then follow the best of it. So go be well informed, go and understand. But make sure you're understanding in the entirety of your existence, not just the materialistic side of your existence, which is what we as a community tend to focus on initially. I like to give this example a lot, which is when you speak off, for example, let's say there's a potential spouse coming into the family. What's one of the first questions that people ask? Especially if it's you have a daughter in the family and in the family. What's one of the first questions you'll ask about the brother? How much is he earning? What's his job? Has he got a house? True or not? Interestingly, when it's the other way around, and there's a brother in the family, there's a potential sister about to join, we'll ask about hijab first, interestingly. And that, you could argue, maybe not even religious, it could just be a cultural question. What about hijab? Right. How to cook as well, yeah, it could be a good point, right? Yet we're told, look at yourselves on taqwa. How many times is taqwa repeated? How many times? How many times? But we're so skewed towards the materialistic question, and then we're wondering why our children are being sucked into it. Oh, hey, we are leading the clan, and we're focusing them on that direction. Again, I'm not saying don't stress the importance on having a strong financial base. Bi'ithnillah, bi'ithnillah, bi'ithnillah. It's always the primary cause from the principal cause, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if we're not guiding them in that direction, we shouldn't be surprised if that's where they're heading towards. How are we on time? Inshallah. Yeah, we're okay? Inshallah, okay. I'll just add a couple of small things and then inshallah we'll end at this point. Because maybe they'll come back to you and say, okay, fine, look, because they're getting smarter. Google helps them. You give them a question, you can bet your bottom dollar. They Google it that evening, they'll have a better argument than what you presented them in the morning. For sure. A YouTube video, 2-minute clip, easy. Learnt it, they'll come at you with it next time and you're like, oh, I don't know what the answer to this one is. So maybe they'll come back and say, okay, look, fair point. I've reflected. I realize my purpose is vague. But maybe you had an argument. Maybe it's fair to say that I should go and study faith, or I should embrace spirituality, or whatever. I'm going to engage with my faith. But before I do so, what value will it actually bring? Because in reality, and this is one of my favorite arguments in terms of like, oh, here we go again. I can just be a good person. I can just be a good person. Why do I need to have everything else? What's the big deal? Let me go be a doctor and let me have a beer on the side. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm being a good person. I'm looking after my family. They're all safe and well. They're in a good education. They come to mosque. I just have a beer on the side. If you're uncomfortable with me saying just have a beer on the side, I'm just going to say we need to be even more aware on how severe the atheism issue is at the moment. The beer is the least of our worries. It's still a worry, but it's nowhere near as much of an issue as the atheist issue that's now creeping in. Because if I were to share the stats on how many people at university have drunk a pint of beer, would be in 90%. So the fact that atheism is now at 50% is a lot more severe. It's a very scary, scary thought. And that's only on the rise, okay? So maybe they'll say, what's the value? What's the value? And again, we need to have strong arguments to say what is the value behind understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the importance and value behind theism? Firstly, you could say this, that one big value behind theism is the advancement of knowledge. Why? Let's say that a friend goes abroad and they buy you a gift and they come back saying, look, I was in, Italy, and I was given this book by the smartest scholar in Italy. And let's say they're studying, physics. And this is the smartest physicist out there. That student, again, with an intellectual, rational mind, is going to study every single line of that book. They're going to be so focused on it. You'd be all over every single detail. The world of existence is much the same. It's a really complex book. You have so many particles, atoms, molecules, whatever in this world that we can see, that we can't see, that's in our universe, that's maybe beyond universe, in al-alamin, the plurals of the universes. And every single particle that exists, because we believe Allah doesn't create out of lust or out of enjoyment, He only creates with wisdom, with ultimate wisdom, there must be a reason and a rationale behind why that tiny molecule exists in the grand scheme of the earth. So you could argue with the theory that Allah creates only with absolute wisdom and therefore creation should go and understand every single little detail. This theism is the biggest catalyst behind the advancement of knowledge that you'll find in humanity. Because where a scientist will say, that's just a coincidence, a theist would say, my Lord has created that deliberately, so I want to find out. A scientist would just say, just leave it to nature. A theist says, no, I need to understand it because my Lord has a theory behind this that I, as His servant, need to try and figure out. Now tell me, when your child has told you, I really want to get into science, have we related it back to Allah more than Allah created the world? That's a really nice argument for a 4-year-old. What about for the 14-year-old? And this is a very strong argument that we can put behind it. Secondly, and this one really is pertinent to a lot of the community actually. I don't think it's just the younger demographic, but maybe more so for them, but I'm not sure. And that is that in the flow of life, it's very normal that people start to feel quite lonely, alone, a bit depressed, if I can use the word. Yet you'll find theists, true theists, and with the line that we just recited earlier, that Allah is closer to you than Hablil Warid, that's someone who truly has lost everything in front of them, still has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a true theist you'll find will never ever feel alone. And given that we're coming up to Yawm al-Arafah, I hadn't thought to share this, but this is one of my favorite lines from Dar al-Arafah by Sayyid al-Shuhada Abu Abdullah Hussein Afdal salati was salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And just, think about the context as to what Imam Hussein alayhi salam would have gone through in his life up until this point and thereafter as well. And he comes out with the line, ماذا وجد من فقدك وما الذي فقد من وجدك. What is he who has found you lost? What is he who has found you lost? Well, I lost my friend, but I found you. I lost that money, but I found you. What is he who has lost you? Found. A true theist is at this point where Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. There's nothing except Allah that I see here. Nothing. You feel lonely? If you're a theist, you'll only have Allah with you 24/7 before, during and after this life. Now tell me if a better theory for a 40-year-old even to solve loneliness than that, than to know that Allah is with you and has been with you every single step of the way and will remain with you and will run towards you when He sees that you take steps towards Him. The next side that we can then use is that this theism gives society a sense of responsibility. They'll all find this in their jobs, right the way from the playground, through to university, through to the jobs, through to community. That when you are in a situation that person A has had an argument with person B and you were the witness, theism almost acts as like a police officer in your heart, telling you, Sadiq, you know you need to say exactly what happened here. You have a responsibility on your shoulders that when you see someone who is wronged, you need to speak up. Oh, but there's no value in me speaking up. It's going to put me in a difficult position. Haqq versus batil. Either you call it out or you don't. You make a decision. Theism, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, look, I gave you the ears. You heard what happened. I gave you the eyes. You saw exactly what happened. I gave you the tongue. Now say what happened. You want to manifest the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The second of our usul, adala, this justice, this fairness. No one likes the friend that when the debate gets difficult, they're like, no, I don't want to get involved in that. Haqq is haqq. Oh, but I'm going to lose all my friends. Mada wajada. Starts again. Tell me if a better societal solution for the corruption that happens today than if every single person truly acknowledged that they had a Lord that's going to hold them to account fi dunya wal akhirah. You can put all of the police in the world. You can create a Chinese state. You can create a Russian state. You can create a whatever state. You will not find a better solution than if every individual actually acted as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was watching their every single move. You wouldn't need police, right? And there's these narrations that we have, if I'm not mistaken, from Imam Ja'far and Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa Ja'far, where he alludes to this point that at the time of our awaited Savior, if a brother needs to get money from another brother, he'll give his wallet and not even look at how much he takes out of it. Nowadays, without dear uncle telling us about bank apps, which are very secure, by the way, especially if you get your fingerprint on it. No way am I giving you guys my unlocked bank account. No way. I don't care how much of a muttaqi you are. I'm not giving it to you. No chance. Allahumma ajjil li waliyik al-faraj, but I'll keep this locked when you come, Imam. No chance. You're not getting access. No way. Third very powerful argument. Theism and the sense of responsibility that it can create in society, and very lastly, which links to point 2, theism and peace of mind. You can see these deeply religious individuals who are just always content. They're so relaxed. In Khutbatul Muttaqeen, there's this concept that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi wa sallam, which I think Shaykh Abbas Ismail was mentioning a few weeks ago in the Jummah khutbah, and we'll learn it in our tafsir sessions, and it was beautiful. It was along the lines that you have this concept in Islam of Kadhim al-Ghayth, right? The one who controls his anger. So you get punched, you feel the anger, but you manage it. We acknowledge anger exists, but you just manage it. But in Khutbatul Muttaqeen, Imam Ali describes these individuals, and I'm going to give you the concept, not the wording here, that when you get punched and you feel that anger engulf you and then you have to control it, those who have this incredible level of taqwa, that frustration and anger that would fill the average person, for this individual, it's like a pebble being chucked into an ocean, just ripples. They're not fazed. They're completely level-headed. Nothing phases them illa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the only thing that they're fully occupied with. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-An'am, Surah number 6, verse 82, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانُهُم بِالظُّلْمٍ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. That those who believe and do not mix up their faith with wrongdoing, those are they who shall have security. They're the ones who are rightly guided. Those who have this belief, this staunched this protection of their faith. Now you say this to this 14-year-old, 18-year-old, 20-year-old, whatever, 50-year-old even, member of your family. You'd rather they start their life with these foundations than tell me about your career first. So my recommendation as your humble grandson in the community is to say atheism is massively on the rise. Our youngsters are finding better arguments like you'll never have seen. But you have a phenomenal relationship and opportunity as their grandparent or granduncle or grandaunt to get them thinking again. And just like a GP, when they ask you 1 question, 2 questions, 8, 9 questions, if they were to now walk away when they're about to give you the diagnosis, you'll run straight after them. So if you ask this youngster these questions, get them to ponder, to think, at some point they'll be like, Granddad, what do you think? If you start to walk off, they start to chase the knowledge. And you just make sure you walk towards the right scholars and leave them in their safe hands. And inshallah, that way we can hopefully protect our next generation to make sure that we have an ummah that is being prepared for the revolution of our awaited Savior, that is actively preparing for his physical recoming. وآخر الدعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرج.
Can I ask a question?
We haven't got much time.
Just
one question you can ask.
Actually, this is, I would like to share this information.
Please.
For an atheist, I found a book called The Greatest Muslim Scientist and Philosopher, Imam Al-Jawad. There's a chapter inside, a discussion which he had with Abu Shakir, who was an atheist. And ultimately, he changed
Yes.
his. And the other thing is this, I found this is a very pertinent ayah regarding those people who are doing tabligh to change. Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izati al hasana wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan. Call the people towards the way of Allah with wisdom and beautiful preaching. And your discussion with them should be ahsan.
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 Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you, Murtaza. Okay, go ahead.
I'm an upper school teacher and I come into contact with young adults day in and out. I had to leave this country because I didn't have enough faith that I will bring my children properly. Now I'll tell you, this is the problem we are facing. There are several problems, and in my own extended family, a boy has got married to a boy and a girl has got married to a girl in this day and age. Now why does this happen? I have few things which, in this sport, I had a little argument with our revered teacher, and he was my, obviously, teacher from Basmulas. May God be pleased with him. I told him, I go in the morning, my kids are sleeping. I come home, they're sleeping. Why should I have children when I cannot give enough tarbiyah, except in the weekends? I should not have children. We are told, increase your ummah, etc., etc., etc. He told me just one thing. Muhammad Raza, you don't do your 100%, you do your 110% and we'll leave the rest. But I did not have enough faith that I know that my kids are watching TV, and what's on TV, you know. I know they go to the washroom, there is no water. I know they go to a canteen, there is khinzir, oil, whatever. I know in the summer they see people half naked. My daughter tells me, Baba, she's wearing, why can't I wear this? Now, upbringing, obviously. This is the first thing. I'll just be very quick. These are the few things I have mentioned. Now, I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time. You see, I think the sukoon is in alladhina yu'minuna bil ghayb. If we are not in that faith that bil ghayb knows more, you know, we are talking about this Imam Al-Jawad said to his killers on the day of Ashura.
Mm-hmm.
You pray Salah 5 times. You are Qari of Quran. Alright, you were the Ashab of Rasul, but you will still kill me because what you are eating is not halal.
Mm-hmm.
What are we eating?
Mm-hmm.
What are we eating? We should ask us. Upbringing, what we are eating. The question of nature and nurture.
Yeah.
See, this is the big problem. When I want to conceive a child and I'm half drunk and I don't know how to say Bismillah, what sort of kid should I expect?
Mm-hmm.
And then they say this is nature. The other thing, our love of the Ahlul Bayt. How many people know, how many our youngsters know, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila?
Mm-hmm.
Do they know what is this? How will they know if they don't have the love of him? And one other important thing is our language.
Mm.
If we don't just stick to our language, we will lose the respect of elders. Now there's several things, but I don't think I've got enough time.
Beautifully said.
These are some of the things which bother me, and I feel that I don't want another gay marriage in my family.
No, I
How will I
understand.
stop that? Have we asked ourselves? How are you going to stop your grandson not marrying another boy?
Yep. Yep. Powerful points.
Thank you, brother. Seth, did you want to say something?
I'll be honored if you were to recite the Yasin.
Yeah, no, astaghfirullah. I've come to hear your voices, both of yours, please.
I said all the time, Habibi, please do me the honor. I want to listen to you.
In,
Rabbi Sir, please.
in both your presences, that feels...
No. I would love to, you know.
Yeah, we will ask him to, Sadiq Bhai to, but I just want to say one thing, and that we are really honored to have you here.
No,
A young
thank you.
man who spent, the way he's departed with his knowledge, it's really, really heartwarming to see a young man advance. And I think we should listen to these young people. We should not just, because they are young, we are oldies, we know better than them. No, they know better as well. They've got more knowledge than us.
The knowledge is from Aitel and Nasser.
No,
as you said,
we
that's
we
the
share.
point. I
We should
promise you,
share
yes.
that knowledge. Thank you very much, brother.
Jazakumullah.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
But he had to send his prophet and Imam
And Aitel and Nasser is the one who gave us the book. I'm just reading you the book. It is indeed, yes, Al-Islam, it's on there. 50 lectures on the principles of faith for the youth, specifically for high school students. And once they finish that with family, they can go to Aitel al-Wahid's Principles of
The
Faith.
Ismailis, for your information, are using this book. I
Really?
used to supply them. Now, that's right. It's been translated into English,
Correct.
and they have actually published it to the Ismaili community.
Wow.
The only book they use on the Shias is this particular one.
It's powerful. It's really powerful. Inshallah. Are you sure? Like, I feel so bad. Like,
No, it's honor, no, pleasure.
Ya Allah, inshallah. No, my pleasure. It's possible to get a little bit of water? Some water, please? Sorry. Sallallahu alayhi wa Thank you so much.
Oh, आपने भी लिया. Okay, that's bottle water.
Perfect. This is perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, it seems so. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشروا بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاء المرسلون إذا أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ ينسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أن اطعموا من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوا اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ينكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه شعرا وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناهم من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقا قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي ينشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم سورة المباركة الفاتحة تسبقها بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وآل
Please say Fatiha for Marhuma Khurshid Banu Abdul Hussain Akbar Takim, Marhumin of Akbar Rashid Natani Takim family, Marhumin of Muhammad Raza Abdullah Kanji family, Marhumin of Hussain Sachidina Kalyan family, Marhumin of Ramzan Ali Khamis Damji family, Marhumin of Hussain Amdi Karmali family, Marhumin of Alidina Muhammad Sajan family, Marhumin of Roshan Ali Kanji family, Marhumin of Ghulam Sen Jafar family, Marhumin of Mullah Fida Hussain Haji Muhammad Kaki family, Marhumin of Ghulam Ali Pyar Ali Mirali family, Marhumin of Hussain Abdul Rasul Datu family, and all our Marhumin. Fatiha. Ziyarah for us, please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي هلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقي الليل والنهار ولا جعل الله وآخر لحدي مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا أبو الفضل العباس وعلى أختك زينب. السلام عليك يا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي ابن مولاي يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلطان يا أبا الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا وعلى أختك فاطمة معصومة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان، يا إمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهر الله تعالى مخرجك وزورك وجلنا من مواليك وأنصارك. السلام عليكم يا أهل البيت النبي جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم قل حجة صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكن أرضك توعا وتمتع فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوات.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن مولانا أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله صل اللهم على محمد وآل الطيبين الطاهرين.
हो गया अल्लाहु अकबर अशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह अशहदु अन्ना अलिय्यन वलियुल्लाह अशहदु अन्ना अलिय्यन हुज्जतुल्लाह حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد Allahu Akbar. Bihawlillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahu Akbar. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azaban nar. Allahu Akbar. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله. سبحان الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. بسم الله وبالله وخير الأسماء لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم لا إله إلا الله رب العرش الكريم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم اللهم لا تدع لي ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا سقما إلا شفيته ولا عيبا إلا سترته ولا رزقا إلا بسطته ولا خوفا إلا آمنته ولا سوءا إلا صرفته ولا حاجة هي لك رضا ولي فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح هيا على خير العمل هيا على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلبي على دينك الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdihi Rabbi salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahu Akbar. Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdihi Rabbi salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim wa bihamdihi Rabbi salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdihi Rabbi salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahu Akbar. Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdihi Rabbi salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahu Akbar. Bihawlillah. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim wa bihamdihi Rabbi salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdihi Rabbi salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahu Akbar. Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdihi. Ya waliyal afiyah, nas'aluka al-afiyah, afiyat ad-dunya wal akhirah. Bijay Muhammadin wa ali baytihi at-tahirin. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahi wa billahi wa khairul asma'i lillah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. बर मोहम्मद वाली मोहम्मद सलवात मोमिन और मोमिनात जे भाइयों ने बहनों तकलीफ़ में खुदावंद करीम ते उन तकलीफ़ों ने दूर करे जे भाइयों ने बहनों बीमार हो खुदावंद करीम ते उन्हें शफ़ाए कुली इनायत करे अने तंदुरुस्ती साथे तुले अमृता करे पूरी दुनियाना मुसलमानों मोमिनों उलमाओं ने मुजतहिद ने पोताना हिफ्ज़ अमान में राखे ज़ालिमों ने जुल्म थी बचावे हासिदों ने हसद थी बचावे अने अपना प्यारा इमाम साहिब ज़मान अलैहिस्सलाम ने ज़हूर में ताजीर फरमावे एवी दुआ साथे आपणे 5 वक्त अम्मा जिब्नो व्रत करिए औज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम अम्मन युजीबुल मुस्तर्रा इज़ा दा व यक्शिफुस सू 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 अम्मन युजीबुल मुस्तर्रा इज़ा दा व यक्शिफुस सू। अल-फातिहा।
الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد ذليل خاضع فقير بائس مسكين مستجير لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع ومن دعاء لا يسمع اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر والفرج بعد الكرب والرخاء بعد الشدة اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah, Assalamu alaikum ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Assalamu alaikum ya Fatima Zahra, Sayyid Nisa'il Alameen, Assalamu alaikum ya Salul Mushtaba, Assalamu alaikum ya Hussein Shaheed bi Karbala, Assalamu alaikum ya Ali ibn al-Hussein Zainul Abidin, Assalamu alaikum ya Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir ibn Nabiyyin, Assalamu alaikum ya Jabir ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq, Assalamu alaikum ya Musa ibn Jafar al-Kadhim, Assalamu alaikum Ali ibn Musa Yurza, Assalamu alaikum ya Muhammad ibn Ali al-Taqi al-Jawad, Assalamu alaikum Ali ibn Muhammad al-Hadi al-Naqi, Assalamu alaikum ya Hasan ibn Ali al-Zaki al-Askari, Assalamu alaikum ya Hujjatullah ibn al-Hasan, ya Sahib al-Yasfi al-Zaman, Assalamu alaikum ya Kabat al-Iman, Assalamu alaikum ya Sharik al-Quran, Ajjalallahu farajah وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.